Okay, this is the second part of the Furioso run through on the video. Different days, you can probably tell, we've got a bit of sunlight on the table, and if you can hear something in the background, it's the heater because it's bloody freezing here in Yorkshire, as is typical for December. So, in the last part, we had a quick introduction to the rules, and then we went through the first stage of a move, which would be initiative. And we've rolled the dice for initiative, and we're ready to go and to start the actual turn. So, rather than having a move phase and a shoot phase and a melee phase, each unit does its own turn completely in order, in basis of initiative, with the highest going first. If a unit was impetuous, which we don't have any on the table at the moment, then that unit would go first. However, the highest initiative score that we have on the table at the moment is a 6, and that is for the French ordnance archers, or the French medium cavalry, as I would like to call them. Normally, for French ordnance archer, their move is 10 inch. As you can see here, the initiative roll for them is 6, so they can move a maximum of 16 inches, which I'll just do now. Okay, so that unit's moved off down the table. That's its turn. It's not made contact with anything, so there's no melee, and this dice can come off the table, and that is the turn for those ordnance archers. And what happens then is there are no 6s on the papal side, so we will move on to 5s. Now, various different ways you can do this. The rules suggest that you move 5 per side. So, and I don't know, let's say a dice off to see who goes first. We found that was a little bit restrictive when we were playing a game that was 3 times the size of this. It would slow the game down considerably. So we just shouted out 6s move, 5s move, and we all did it across the table. And if there was any sort of advantage to one particular unit, if it moved first or second within an initiative phase, i.e. they both had 5s, then we would just simply roll off between ourselves, and the highest would get to choose whether they were going to move first or react to the other unit. So, competition wise, it would probably struggle because you'd have arguments, but in a gentlemanly game, war game, as we have here at Yorkshire Gamer, there's no points, there's no army lists, then it works perfectly well. So let's move the camera across to the papal state size, because I'm going to let them go first on the 5s. Okay, so we quickly move the camera over to the papal state side, and there are 2 units on the papal state side that have got a 5. We've got the Borgia gendarme, who are Familiar Ducal, which is a better rated Italian gendarme, on a 5, and we also have the Papal State Pike Block, who are also on a 5. So gendarmes, or knights, or however you want to determine them, extra heavily armed cavalry, in this period, in this rule set, are a base move of 8. So with their 5, if I'm going to move the Familiar Ducal, and they will move forward 13 inches. So it's their base move plus their initiative score. So that 13 inch is, and I've just broken a figure, that 13 inch is not going to bring them into contact with the ordnance archers, but we're going to be fairly close. Okay, and then once again, to signify that that unit has moved, simply remove the dice from the rear of the unit. And we're going to move on to the French for their next 5. So the French there, as you can see looking down on the dice, and if you remember from the initiative video, have done very well with their dice rolls, and they have 3 units that all have 5s, and this is going to help us see a little bit more about how the rules work. First unit I'm going to move on the French side will be the Lanceneck pike block, and Lanceneck pikes have a standard move of 4. They have an initiative of 5, so their move is going to be 9. So let's just move that pike block forward. Once again, the dice can go back into the dice pot. This particular unit of pike, I'm just going to move the camera slightly just so you can see. This unit of pike has a 2-stand skirmish screen, and they are armed with arquebus. The maximum range for that is 20 inches. So skirmish screen from the Swiss pike block is in range, it's maximum range. So we'll be able to do the first bit of firing, or the first bit of combat, at the end of this turn. So a skirmish screen or skirmish unit can move and fire. There are no reductions for that. With a long range, so each base for shooting will generate 1 dice as such, and as with everything in this rules, you need a 5 or a 6 to be successful. So we've just got a bit of long range skirmishing going on here. So we've got a shot, and I didn't roll them in camera, should have done really, but we can see there we've got a 4 and a 6, so we've got 1 hit and 1 miss. The saves, the Swiss pike will get 1 dice to save the hit. You get 1 dice to save every hit. Every hit you get a dice to save it, and then on top of that you get other dice depending on the factors. So in this case we'll get 1 dice for the hit and 1 dice because we are a skirmish screen. Again, needing 5 or 6s to save the hit. And you can see there we've done very well. We've rolled 2 5s, so we've definitely saved the hit. So there's no casualties from that movement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the Papal pike block, which is on a 5. It's not going to contact anyone, so I'm not going to show that on camera. Just for your information, I think you should be picking this up now as we've done a few. Initiative, movement, total movement is its base move, which for a pike block is 4, plus its initiative, which in this case is 5, so that pike block will move 9. I'm just going to move that pike block, and then I'll come back to the French side for their 5s, as they will have some more shooting. Okay, after I moved that pike block, I realised that there was going to be a little bit of shooting from it, so I've just come back to that. As you can see, we've got the 2 skirmish stands in front of the pike block, and the ordnance archers are in range. Measure centre of the unit to the nearest point of the target, which is under 10 inches. So arquebus handguns, 10 inch is your basic range and 20 inch is long range. So we're going to get a couple of dice from the Papal arquebus into the ordnance archers. 1 dice from each. Would be 2 dice if they were stationary, but they're not, so they've moved. So here we go. And once again off camera, we've rolled a 6 and a 2, which is a hit. The ordnance archers are heavily armoured, so they get 1 on each dice to save, plus 2 dice for their armour. So they have 3 dice to save 1 hit, needing 5s or 6s. And they have saved, so we are having a little bit of ineffective skirmishing going on. And I'll just move the camera now, and we'll look at the French artillery. Okay, we're still on the 5s in the initiative on this turn. 6s have moved and some 5s have moved. but we're now on to, we've got two, an excess of 5s on the French side, so there was 2 5s left. We've got a skirmish unit of crossbow and this medium gun that's sat in the middle of the French lines. So let's talk a little bit about artillery. 3 basic types: light, medium and heavy. This particular gun is a medium gun, and it is slightly different with the initiative in that guns can only do things based on their size. So a heavy gun will only activate and fire or move if it rolls a 5 or 6 in the initiative phase. Medium gun on 4, 5 and 6, and a light gun on everything bar a 1. So this medium gun is active. It's rolled a 5, so it can fire in its turn, and is going to take a shot at the Papal pike block that is heading towards it. So quite simple. A medium gun will start with 2 dice for its firing, and then let's have a look at the range. We are to the pike block itself rather than the skirmish screen. We're 23 inches, and short range for a medium gun is 30 inches, so we're inside short range. There's no benefit for that. You just don't lose dice. You'll lose a dice if you're over short range. So we are looking at the 2 dice for that, but then we're firing a pike block, and you gain 1 extra dice for each base after the first one. So that's 4 dice. So a little bit of an explanation here. The Furioso rules are based around units that have single ranks of figures. So they're based in a base of 4 for a pike, and the unit you're looking at, the pike block in the distance, the Papal pike block there, that would under Furioso rules, that would consist of 12 bases, whereas it's too much fiddling about for me moving single bases. So they're double ranked, and we just count each base on ours with 8 figures, equivalent to a base of 4 figures in Furioso. So here we go for the firing. So again, 5s and 6s required, 4 dice against the pike block, and we have 2 hits. To save against a gun, you get 1 dice for each hit, and then because it's an armor, it's a gun, the armor is reduced, and that means we effectively have no armor. So we've just got these 2 dice to try and save 2 hits, and we've saved 1 with the 5, but the 4 is a hit, so that means we will take 1 hit on the pike block, and each base has the equivalent of 4 hits. So you would take 4 hits to remove a base, and in this particular shot we've just lost 1, so I'm going to put a small black marker at the rear of the unit to signify that it's got 1 casualty. Just got 1 5 left for the French, and we'll do that shortly. So the final unit for the French on the 5s is this unit of crossbow down here. So we'll take that dice away to signify that they have gone this turn. They can move 6 inches based on their unit stats, and skirmish unit can fire. So that skirmish unit is going to open up on this unit of lance neck shot over here. We are range of 22 inches, which is long range for a crossbow. So we would have skirmish units can move and fire, 2 dice per base, but you always lose 1, so we're down to 5. However, we are only 1 dice per base because we're at long range, so we are 3, but skirmishes always lose 1, so you're firing 2 dice with that skirmish unit at long range at the lance neck shot. Looking at 5s and 6s, 1 hit, as we can see. The lance neck shot are unarmed, so we just get 1 dice in an attempt to save that hit. and we don't. So I will go and put a marker on the lance neck shot and come back to you shortly. So I've done a little bit of movement, just moved everything that isn't in contact with everything, and just a little bit of shooting to finish off this turn. We've got the light gun down here, firing at the French old band pike in the distance. That will be 1 dice for a light gun. It's on a 3, so it can fire with it being a light gun. 1 dice for the light gun, and 2 dice for the ranks of the pike block. So we're looking for 5s and 6s, and we've missed. So that was nice and easy. And then there's just the final move, which is the lance neck shot, who are over in the distance here. They can move 4 plus the dice 6. They're on a 1, which means they're on half fire effect, which gives them 1 dice against the crossbowmen, which they miss. So there we go. That's a turn done. We'll come back to you later on and do a second turn. Well, thanks for watching.